Hi everybody, it's meteorologist Joe Cioffi. It is a Monday on what was I guess a pretty crazy day when it comes to the weather that we had around here. I just want to give you a heads up. The internet signal seems to be a little bit shaky tonight. It could be weather related here in my area. Sometimes when weather gets a bit rough, it impacts the internet signal. So let's all keep our fingers crossed that everything holds on. Johnny Quest, you hit super chat early. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You getting another round of rain over the weekend and today. Of course, the big story tonight is the rain that fell over eastern Pennsylvania and particularly in New Jersey in the coastal counties of Monmouth and Ocean, where our Israel D. Frudiger is a resident of Lakewood, and he knows because you got jackpot today. There were some 6-inch plus amounts in parts of northern Ocean County around Brick Township. Just amazing when you get these thunderstorms in a situation like this, and they just kind of sit over you, and it just rains and rains and rains and rains. Now, we're going to take a look at the current radar. 7:41 is the time, folks. If you're watching it on the replay, it's 7:41 Eastern time. So just remember that the radar is dated, and we can see the mechanisms here that are in play on the radar. And here we go. So if you look on each side of the map, there are actually two cutoff lows that are in play. The counterclockwise rotation around both of them is very obvious. We've got the one, of course, in the east that's sitting somewhere in northern West Virginia or southwestern Pennsylvania, and the echoes are rotating counterclockwise around that. We also had a surface wave that developed, and that was responsible for what looked almost like an well, it was, I mean, to some degree. You had all this tropical moisture and onshore flow, and you had an almost solid overrunning area of rain that lifted up north and northwest of the low center that went up the coast. In fact, this morning, we actually had some wind gusts up in the high 20s right along the immediate shore from the northeast. So all of this coming into play, producing some big rains, and that rain from earlier today that moved up through eastern Pennsylvania and through New Jersey is now on up into upstate New York, through much of interior Connecticut and into central New England. The heavier rains are moving up into north central New York State. The rotation to the west, the cold upper low, producing some downpours and thunderstorms, and particularly some of the stronger thunderstorms are in and around the Washington, D.C. area. We have something similar with an upper low back over through Kansas, and that is got that sort of comma-shaped signature on the satellite, on the radar view as well, and that's producing downpours and thunderstorms from north central Texas on up into the eastern half of Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, southwestern Missouri, and throughout much of Kansas, and even leading up into southern Nebraska. Now, the upper low to the west is going to weaken, but it gives it just enough of a kick, along with a little bit of a kick coming down in the northern jet stream, to get this upper low in the east out of here. It finally will start to move out and weaken on Tuesday, but we are going to have one more day of downpours to get through. I want to go to a couple of the local radar views, and what I'm going to bring up are the Doppler storm totals, and I'll make this a bit bigger so it's big enough on the screen. You can see the scale on the side here. I'll widen it just a little bit more. You can see the scale on the side. The red areas are 5-inch rain amounts or higher, and you see that blob that is sitting right along the New Jersey coast. That is, for those of you who are not familiar, that area basically runs, that got hit today was in northern Ocean, southern Monmouth County, getting the most of the rainfall from that shot. Also, notice you've got big rains also that occurred in eastern Pennsylvania. And by the way, this is only one day of rain. I mean, this has been going on for days now in a lot of places. Every day it's been a little different in terms of who's been getting the heavier rainfall. And then kind of moving the chess pieces around. Saturday, it was the northern half of New Jersey, particularly in northeast New Jersey in Little Falls. You may have seen the video of cars from a car dealership basically being all washed away and just crashing into a bridge. It was just amazing to see. And also the flooding in Pennsylvania has been extensive as well. There's a lot of river flooding going on too, because all the rivers and streams are pretty much at bank full. Today, the rains in the northern part of the state of New Jersey and into the Hudson Valley haven't really amounted to too much. They've been generally under a half an inch with a few pockets of an inch plus. But in eastern Pennsylvania, we've had some areas here also with 5-inch plus amounts. So definitely a big rain producer for sure. I'm going to jump up to the area further north, so you can get this at least from the view of Upton's radar on central Long Island. And actually, central and eastern Long Island got a fair amount of rain today, with some 2 to 3 inch local amounts of 2 to 3 inches, but a general 1 to 2 inch rainfall, and that extended into parts of southern Connecticut and Rhode Island. You can see from the Upton's perspective what it looks like in through New Jersey. And I'll take it a bit further to the west. We'll head a little further west into Pennsylvania. And here's the view from the Binghamton radar. So you can see the back edge of the half inch is in the dark blue. And it's a pretty large area that got hit with the heavy rains. And we still, by the way, in the green boxes that you see, those are flash flood warnings that are going on through upstate New York. But right along, just north of Route 78, we're really getting hit very, very hard. West of Allentown and west of Allentown, northeast of Harrisburg, we've got 5-inch plus bands that, excuse me, snake their way up northward toward Williamsport. And in fact, I just want to make sure this is rainfall from Sunday morning, 10:55 a.m. to 7:37 p.m. So basically, the last 36 hours worth of rainfall, as much as 5 to 6 inches in some places. Incredibly impressive. And as I said, we're adding to this, to all the rain that's fallen here in the last couple of weeks. Dropping southward and westward, we'll go into toward Pittsburgh. And this is a little more convective in nature because this is under the upper low. This rainfall is from a total actually spread out from 8:44 p.m. Thursday to 7:42 p.m. Monday. So this is over the last 4 or 5 days. And the reds on this radar are 3 inches plus. So it's been less as you go into western Pennsylvania and Ohio and up into northern West Virginia and northern Virginia. And probably a bit more convective in nature. And we go down to the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. You can see the southern edge of the total rainfalls going into eastern Maryland, the green being an inch. And then you get into the yellows, which are 2.5 inches. So you get the gist of it here, folks. It rained, and it rained quite a bit. I was hoping we could see Blacksburg, Virginia, their rainfall totals, but that is not to be. Let me just jump up. Yeah, they're out. So it's let me give one more jump. Now we're going back to Charleston, West Virginia, where the rains were much less, and this was during the day today. Only today's numbers, by the way, being shown here. The darker blues indicative of a half an inch. So no question, it was quite the rain event. And now we are going to wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be the last day of this stretch because of that upper low finally lifting out. And with respect to the current radar, there's your rain again, just as a reminder, and then some stronger storms. This is all around the upper low. And as that moves eastward tomorrow, that's going to trigger off some downpours and some thunderstorms. I think you could probably see some isolated, strong thunderstorms as that gets kicked away to the northeast. The one thing I was kind of hoping for, which is not going to happen, is the fact that once this pulls out, at least we could get a break in the darn humidity. But we're really not. The humidity is really not going to come down very much at all in the days that follow Wednesday into Thursday. We're still going to have dew points that are going to be up there. Just want to show you the satellite signature here of this upper low in the east. And you can see the rotation very, very clearly. Now, as that upper low spins, you've got this tropical moisture that's off the east coast. So you see how those clouds are being drawn north-northeastward. As that upper low starts to push eastward, that axis is going to move eastward. So the stream of moisture straight up the coast, which is what happened last night. We watched clouds and downpours and thunderstorms develop in Virginia and North Carolina and just basically lift almost straight northward. Well, now that everything's kind of shifting to the east, the axis of that tropical moisture is going to be further east, and that's going to run up toward New England and offshore. So the main producer tomorrow will be that upper low, which means we're going to be subject to daytime heating. I think we're going to probably have some what I would call self-destructive sunshine that creates, you get the daytime heating, you create an even more unstable atmosphere, and that causes downpours and thunderstorms to develop. This will be the last gasp, because then after that it does pull away to the northeast. Now I'm going to jump the NAM 12. I've been trying to get a feel for which model's been having the better time with this. The NAM 12 seems to be the one that is holding up the best. These are the rainfall amounts. Now this starts at 2 p.m. today, so some of this includes whatever's fallen late this afternoon and this evening, but the NAM is forecasting an additional several inches of rain up in central Pennsylvania, and I think part of this is also due to the fact that as we move through the latter part of the week, even though it'll be dry, I think, Wednesday and probably Thursday, there might be some convective activity that goes on in interior parts of Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and points west. So that could be where some of that additional rainfall is coming from. Now, we'll go to the NAM surface here, and this is what it looks like this evening. I'm on the tight view, and those of you who are watching from elsewhere, I haven't forgotten you. We will widen out at some point. So there's your wave, and gradually during the overnight, what usually happens in situations like this is that you do see the activity die down, and then you see it flaring up again. Excuse me. During the day tomorrow, with downpours and thunderstorms as the upper low swings through, then that goes out, and then finally Wednesday, it looks like the whole day Wednesday will be dry in the northeast, and then you start to see some convection developing here later on Thursday and Thursday night in the inland areas, and it only goes out to 84 hours. So that's, again, the rainfall map that I showed you a little while ago. Remember that was part of that includes whatever fell between 2 p.m. this afternoon and, I guess, present time. Okay, let's now switch over. I'm going to bring the wider view. Maps, by the way, as always, courtesy of tropicaltidbits.com. Great website for those of you who like to look at weather maps and weather models and all sorts of things, especially when hurricanes come into play. Don't forget to use tropicaltidbits.com, and many thanks to Levi Cowan for doing the work on this fantastic website. So once that front moves to Tuesday, with the upper low gone, really don't have too much to play with here. So that's why I think Wednesday and Thursday, for the most part, will be rather calm. You can see a breakout of downpours and thunderstorms in the middle Mississippi Valley and on up into the lower lakes. That'll be the next system pushing eastward, and we're going to bring try to bring a front through here late in the week with some downpours and thunderstorms. Looks like late Friday night into Saturday, and once again that front kind of gets hung up a bit, so that could linger some downpours into at least Saturday night, maybe even into part of Sunday. I'm hoping that that's not the case. And then after that, with the next high that starts to build a bit near Nova Scotia, you've got it wedged down near the coast, so there is a bit of an onshore flow. You've got a rather strong, vigorous system coming into the Great Lakes. So for later, for next week, looks like we could get a stronger cold front coming through along about Tuesday the 21st. And this looks like a decent push of dry air coming in. Hooray, hooray. But we may have to wait here, folks. But the weather models, the European, the GFS, kind of telegraphing this idea. Maybe it'll mean that we'll get at least a break in the humidity and bring the temperatures down for a couple of days with a shot of Canadian air. Remains to be seen. Models have been a bit fickle with how they look at it. Been looking at the upper air lately. Here's the wide view. There's your upper low in the east. Whenever you see this in the summertime, in the wintertime, it's where you wind up getting cloud buildups and snow shower activity, or if it's too warm, you get rain shower activity, gusty winds at the ground, and that cold feel to the air in mid to late fall or in early spring. You see something like this in the summertime. This almost always spells trouble with regards to rain, because you have such an abundance of tropical moisture, particularly when you've got an upper ridge like that sitting off the east coast. That tropical moisture's got nowhere to go but to flow up the eastern seaboard, and then you've got this cold trough. You throw in daytime heating, you throw in dew points that are up into the 70s and on some days. It wasn't the case today because of the onshore flow. The dew points were a little more contained. It actually had almost a bit of a raw feel to it at certain points during today. There's a lot of areas where, while it was raining, we're down close to the 70-degree mark. That's pretty unusual for this time of year. But like I said, whenever you have an upper low like this in the summertime, it is definitely problematic. And there's your jet stream that's running along the Canadian border. It's got some short waves in it. So we've got one that's coming out from Lake Winnipeg and moving eastward. So that effectively helps to kick the system out of the east. And then that lifts up. Now here's what the GFS and the European also does this. But as we move into next week, it really builds the ridge up in the west, all the way up in the Pacific Northwest. And that drives a trough down, a rather deep, sharp trough into the Great Lakes. And this is what's going to be the push, the mechanism that brings down a decent shot of dry Canadian air into the eastern part of the United States. At least that's the plan. And that Canadian jet's going to remain relatively active as we go toward the end of the month. So there might be another front behind it, the way it looks. It's not. There's not a whole lot of amplitude in this. If you notice that the lines come straight across the Pacific and across the United States, basically from west to east. It's a very, very tight setup here. It's a very strong jet, but it's a very tight jet. So areas not that far away from us are going to be very, very warm. The trick is going to be to try to push a frontal boundary through, and I think we will be somewhat successful in that. So interesting pattern going forward. By the way, there are still, I don't see any real signs yet of any kind. The models certainly are not showing any real signs of tropical storm activity coming in the next week or so. We do have another one of these systems, much like Debbie, sitting out in the north central Atlantic, and that is, if it sits out there for the next few days, who knows, that could warm up and become another subtropical storm or a weak tropical storm, but that would be about it. It actually is kind of evolving in almost the same way that Tropical Storm Debbie did. Just excuse me for 1 second. Little bit of having to blow my nose action. I apologize for that. So the thing we got to do is get this rain to end. We need it to go away. Here's WPC's rainfall, by the way, for the next 7 days. And the emphasis now is going to shift away from the east. Much of what you see in upstate New York and New England, that's front end loaded. That's pretty much tonight and tomorrow. And then you see what's going on also in the plains and in the middle Mississippi Valley. Some pretty sizable rainfall. The orange areas indicative of 3 to 4 inches or more. Again, this is going to carry through for a good part of the week. Not much hope in California. We've got some monsoon rains and thunderstorms likely in the southwest, and we also have some thunderstorms up in the central Rockies and into the northern plains. But the east is going to see the numbers. When we look at this map tomorrow and we take Tuesday out of the equation, that map is going to show less in the way of rain for the Northeast, with the break for a couple of days. So whatever it shows, it'll be for the end of the week and going into the weekend. So I hope those of you who are watching from New Jersey, especially in central New Jersey, I hope you all fared well. You know, I had a feeling since last Thursday that with this upper low, the way it was set up, was going to be a big producer of rain for somebody. We saw it on Saturday in North Jersey. We saw it today in coastal New Jersey and in eastern Pennsylvania. It's interesting how you get these holes, though, that develop in the middle, and it makes it very problematic when it comes to forecasting. One of the things I've been kind of wording it along the lines of that everybody's going to be at risk for downpours, and somebody is going to get into some really heavy downpours that are going to cause flash flood problems. But the issue of where and the timing, it was very difficult, and it always is in instances like this. You wind up with surprises, particularly during the early morning hours. Out my way, for example, having downpours coming in at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's something that models, sometimes they see them and sometimes they don't. And in fact, more often than not, in a setup like this atmospherically, they don't. And those downpours in some places yesterday morning, parts of southern Suffolk County picking up several quick inches of rain, while areas to the west of there got very little. And then later in the day, the other half of southwestern Suffolk County and southern Nassau County got hit with the big rains, and other areas did not. It's always fun trying to figure this out. Israel, 3 miles west of the Garden State Parkway, and was in the western part of the deluge, got 6.5 inches in your backyard, according to your Accurite weather station. And that is certainly, you know, based on the Doppler estimates, based on the rainfall amounts that we saw reported, so every bit correct, every drop of it, by all means. Garrow, thank you very much, appreciate it. You know, it's always a tough call. You're in Little Falls, so you know where I'm talking about on Route 46. Check out, folks, if you can, you know, Google the New Jersey flooding, Route 46 flooding, and you'll see what happened with the cars from that car dealership getting all just easily swept down river. And that's a great example, by the way. Those were empty cars, okay? So you can imagine, you know, if that was a situation where, you know, people were in their cars, it certainly shows the seriousness of flash flooding and just exactly how dangerous it is. Flash flood warning up in Broome County in upstate New York. Comb 100. Thank you for letting us know that. Again, a reminder to everybody, if you're watching this on a replay, 8:04 Eastern Time. So it is dated. Please check your local for current watches, warnings, and everything else. The National Weather Service is your go-to page at weather.gov. Ethan Kerr was in Brick, New Jersey this morning, where that big blob of red on the map on Ocean County, you were sitting in it. I don't know if it was ever seen. I've ever seen that much rain in a few hours. Weather stations showing 6 to 8 inches. Every drop of it, buddy, incredible. just Garo Vestas. 2 car dealerships lost everything. Got 14 videos of amazing footage of the flash flood. I mean, yeah, Garo. By all means, if throw it on my Facebook page if you're okay with it. I'd love to share it. NYRA canceled racing in Saratoga if there's flooding. Will NYRA cancel racing? Well, there's no racing tomorrow. Tuesday, Raymond, is a dark day at Saratoga, so Wednesday, by then, there's no issue. The other thing, by the way, at this point, should just also mention in areas in eastern Pennsylvania and also for northern New Jersey and even some parts of southern New York, a lot of the rivers are pretty high. Some of the smaller rivers and streams are at bankful, so any additional rain is going to run right off. So bear that in mind if you are located near such a river or stream. These are going to be issues through tomorrow with the chance for more downpours and thunderstorms. NYRA has work ahead of them. They have racing days planned, but safety first. If floods there could be a problem, especially at Saratoga. Yeah, I'm thinking, after today, after tomorrow, they should be done unless there's going to be river flooding going on in upstate New York. So that's certainly something we'll have to look out for. David Schwartz, good to see you here. Long Island on the rainfall, Raymond. From me east over the weekend, if you add it together, I think everybody probably got about 2 to 3 inches, but not everybody got it at the same time. And I'm sure there were a few places that got a little bit more than that, and probably a few places got a little bit less. Water spout, yes, Ethan. I did mention. No, I'll mention it now. Yeah, there were also waters. Thank you for reminding me. Water spouts off Long Beach Island in central New Jersey, and also off the south shore of Long Island, south of Shinnecock Inlet this afternoon. There were confirmed water spouts. In this type of setup, it happens. You get rotation, and we've seen quite a bit of it lately too. So this was an amazing. This third trough number 3 of the 3 we've seen. This one, I think, certainly has had the most impact for my area from eastern Pennsylvania. Well, for eastern Pennsylvania, it's kind of a toss-up, I guess. But from New Jersey to southern New England and the coastal areas, this trough had the most impact as opposed to the other two. And Israel said, you only got 0.4 of an inch on Saturday, correct? While all the rain was in North Jersey, and then you got it today. So that's what happens again in situations like this. One day it's one spot, and another day it's another spot. Anthony Orr reminding us that on this date in 2004, Hurricane Charlie made landfall near Punta Gorda, Florida as a Category 4, 9 fatalities, and $15 billion in damage. It's amazing all the time that goes by. That was way back in 2004. The stats that show that the Northeast has had more tornadoes than Tornado Alley. I'd like to see what the comparison was on those stats, Raymond. Maybe you can send me a link, and I'd like to take a look at that. The mountains, Johnny Quest, absolutely. the topography enhances all the time, and definitely got enhancement with the thunderstorms out your way, and they always play a role. One big instance where that happened was in the remnants of Hurricane Camille back in 1969, and I think we just passed the anniversary of that. But when the remnant low moved up into the mountains of eastern Tennessee and western Virginia, West Virginia, the result was in some places 30 inches of rain, and we're talking 30 inches of rain over a short period of time. We're not talking about 30 inches of rain spread over a couple of weeks or even a week. We're talking about over about 48 hours. The rainfall amounts were tremendous, and topography plays a big role in enhancing precip. The fair had to close early on Saturday because of lightning. Yeah, I'm not at all surprised. A lot of rotation lately. You do think that increases our chances of tornadoes and thunderstorms heading into the fall? Israel, you know, I don't think it. Let me answer it this way: if we get another trough in the east and a setup like this, probably could. But I think that you know, that's the big question. Whether you could wind up still getting these things happening in the fall, I suppose you can, especially through the first half of the fall anyway, or the first, let's say, September, maybe into early October if the setup is right. But it does get a little bit long in the tooth as we start to get deeper into the fall, into the autumn season. The key is that cold upper low, the jet stream, the rest of the jet stream being pulled all the way up into Canada, so you're really not getting any kind of cool air coming down. The upper low just sits there. That upper low needs to be vigorous, and you know, you need some sort of tropical moisture inflow sources. So if you've got a ridge off the east coast and a good southerly flow established along the east coast to bring up that tropical moisture, then you could get hammered again. Okay, so we'll call it a night at this point. Thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. Don't forget the Amazon and eBay links that are on there. If you shop on there, it's a good way to support my channel. And I'm a participant in the Amazon and eBay's affiliate programs designed to provide a means for this channel to earn fees from both eBay and Amazon by linking to their respective websites. Thank you for those of you who have used that. It won't be a Joe and Joe show this week because Joe's taking some time off. It'll just be me soloing, and I'll probably do that roughly at about 9:15 on my Facebook page, meteorologist Joe Cioffi. So by all means, please tune in. And I think we got it all. Once again, thank you Tropical Tidbits, tropicaltidbits.com for the great maps. Don't forget, you're watching this on a replay. The radars are dated, so you want to make sure you're up to date on the latest warnings or any watches by going to your National Weather Service local office page, and you can access that by going to weather.gov. Have a great evening, everybody. Delvin, that's right, no Joe and Joe show until August 21st, because I'm going to be off a week from today. I got a library talk. So yeah, so we'll be back on August 21st. It's hard, you know. I have so much fun doing the show with Joe Rayo. It really is. He and I, you know, Joe and I have known each other for 40 years. We go back all the way back, almost to childhood. Although we didn't really know each other until we were, you know, well, he's a couple of years older than me, but roughly around the age of 20. But as it turned out, we actually grew up blocks apart for all our lives. And then we met as weather freaks, and we've been friends ever since, and we've worked together on and off over the years. So I'm waiting for you to come back, Mr. Rayo. Enjoy yourself. Have a great evening, everybody. Do be safe. And do pay attention to any watches and warnings that are up for your particular area. We've got one more day of heavy downpours and thunderstorms to deal with if you're in the northern mid-Atlantic and northeast before we get to some better weather. And by the way, the dew points do not drop very much as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. They're still going to be in the mid to upper 60s for those 2 days. So not really that much of a break in the humidity. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you either later on Facebook or tomorrow right here on my YouTube channel.